Hi, I'm a wandering CJ. There's something that you and I both share. Gaming backlogs. We've all been there where we have some funds and maybe there's a good discount, so we buy that game with the intention of playing it. Or we buy it at full price and make poor financial decisions. Only for it to collect dust anyway. Sometimes there are a lot of games we want to keep up with, but it leads us to dropping some of them due to losing interest. Over the course of my life, I have accumulated several Nintendo games, and it only got worse on Nintendo Switch. I want to explore gaming backlogs, how to combat it, and show some of my backlogs. I actually didn't have much of a backlog when I first started collecting games. When I was a kid, we couldn't afford to spend money on luxury items, which I understood, so the only way I got games as a kid was on special occasions. My family means a lot to me, so I treasure these gifts really highly. Then, when I got older and I got myself a job, that's when my descent into gaming madness began. I think around the Nintendo Switch is where I kept up with Nintendo Directs and YouTubers on recent game announcements. My financial decisions were a literal mess to say the least, but I feel like I've improved on it since then, and budgeted a lot better. Sometimes. Now, gaming backlogs form when a person plays more than they can keep up with, resulting in game titles piling up due to loss of interest, deals, or personal reasons. Sales are a big contributor in our backlog since we tend to make purchases when titles are cheaper. This is especially true on Steam for their popular sales, and Nintendo since those games never go on sale. Very rarely do they ever do that. A loss of interest or time management is another reason people tend to let them pile up. Sometimes we stop playing because we don't find the game appealing or burn out when it starts feeling repetitive. It can also stem from being busy with life, like school or work. Personally, I felt that as I got older, I started having trouble keeping up with these latest titles. Classwork and working kept me occupied for hours, and by the time I was done, I was too tired or the day was over. Another reason that these habits form is when we keep up with recent news. I know that when I kept up with Nintendo Directs is when I started keeping track of some things that caught my interest. Maybe a new Mario, Zelda, or Pokemon is coming soon. Also, if you didn't see the Direct that just came out like around the time this video is probably being posted, at least for me, pretty good, pretty good. I'm not gonna say any more than that because I don't want to But and looking back, this part is gonna be very weird, but man, I do love some of these games that got announced around the time of this upload. Anyway, continuing. Indie games also get announced that interest me too and want me to give it a try. Then when all of them get release dates is when the backlog starts piling up. What was once keeping track of a game or two ends up being up to 10 or more. It's very easy to start consuming more and more rather than take our time. When I say I've experienced dealing with my backlog of titles, I really mean it. Over the course of many attempts of taking on my library, I've learned a few things to help keep me on track. If you're just starting out, I recommend playing one game at a time, which is more manageable than doing multiple. Try a title that doesn't have many hours in it, too. You could try an RPG, but make sure it's something you know you'll be invested in, and have fun playing. Otherwise, if you don't have an attachment with it, you'll just burn yourself out. If it ends up being something you dislike, then it's okay to drop. Trudging through a game that you don't like will only hurt your enjoyment, so stop and move on. It's okay, again, to drop a game if you're just not interested. For example, I started with Super Mario Odyssey since its story is very short and a Mario game that I found enjoyable. Eventually I decided to get all the moons at my own pace, because first, I focused on the story. Then I completed it. Also, don't feel pressured to 100% the software. Just start out playing for fun, since completion can be daunting. Sometimes the game might have too many objectives for completion or that they require a lot of your time. Focusing on the main story and credits is much easier to handle as a player rather than looking for that one item for days on end for a shiny save file. Something to keep in mind is try saving your money and not spending it on discounted software. I know that's hard, but we can do it. A big issue with our backlogs is that we buy more than we play. Only make that purchase if you intend on playing it anytime soon. Now, I made a routine out of it to keep me focused. I made it a goal of mine to play about half an hour a day, as a daily. You could set your own pace, and I recommend making it an achievable goal. If you can't do it daily, then go for every other day or whenever it fits your routine. I also wouldn't get too upset if things don't turn out as expected. Be lenient. Sometimes life happens, and you'll be too busy, which is okay. It's also possible that you might not be interested for a day, in which case you should do something else until you're ready to pick it back up again. Just make sure to keep a positive approach, and play it when you're available. I like to keep a record of my playtime, so I know when to game, so I don't forget. Once I feel comfortable, I add more titles to my list. Remember, keep it small, so having about 3 games is okay. Any more would be too much and can be overwhelming. I usually add a game or 2 when I at least beat a couple games, which for me was 4. I only add another title when you feel comfortable and ready to add another one to the list. I would recommend sticking to at least 1 game per day, or whenever you have the time, despite having the list. Sometimes you only have time for 1 good game session, rather than doing multiple short ones. Now, it's time I talk to you about my video game backlog. Over the years, I've played many titles, but never completed the story. I usually just fell off and did something else, but if I wanted to go back, I'd feel unable to continue. That feeling always made me a bit upset with myself for dropping it, especially if it's one of those excellent titles. For instance, do you know how many times I've tried to beat Xenoblade Chronicles 1? It took about 5 times before I actually completed the main story. I tried on the 3DS, and then the Switch version, which is where I finally beat it. I dropped it a couple times because I usually got busy and felt unmotivated to continue. Breath of the Wild is really fun, the first time you play it, but personally, after dropping it a few times, I just couldn't get through it. Again, it was because I got busy and was doing other Nintendo games that I lost my chance of finishing the story. I actually still haven't beaten it, but I've been spoiled on it already. I do plan on completing it, but the magic of an open world game kind of disappears after the first few attempts. Someday I'll beat Breath of the Wild. Someday. And it's a good game. It's just hard to pick it back up after so many tries. Pokemon Sun and Moon felt just right. So far, I've always finished the main story except the post-game. That depends if I feel like continuing, since I always moved on to the next game I'm interested. However, Pokemon Sun was the first Pokemon title that I stopped halfway and never played again. I even have Pokemon Ultra Moon sealed, which makes me feel really bad. I never attempted to replay it, I just stopped, which is why I've had a huge gap between Pokemon generations. I finally got back into Pokemon with Pokemon ZA being the most recent one of the series that I actually finished. So, yay! I hope that makes up, missing a lot. If I remember correctly, I dropped it because of school, which is reasonable. I hope I was able to help you tackle your own gaming backlogs. I know it may seem discouraging at first, but if you take the first step and keep going, you'll be consistently playing and beating through the lists. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Ah! Darn that gotcha system. I at least beat the main story, but 100% is a whole different story. Hope you all have an awesome day. Spoiler for the June 9th Nintendo Direct. Oh man, I sure do love all these games that got announced for the Nintendo Switch 2 on this Direct. What more could I ask for? What's that? Xenoblade Switch 2 updates? Finally! That's what I wanted. A little late, but I guess better late than never. Wait, what's that? They're adding more content? Oh, that's amazing. Oh no! That means I didn't 100% the game. I gotta go back. I have so many conflicting emotions. I love it, but that means I have to go back and finish it. Why? Alright, I shouldn't complain. I love the update, but I just gotta go back and complete it one more time. Let's do this. This is after the video I finished completing or working on. Um, that Nintendo Direct in June 9th, which is gonna date my video, but it's okay. Uh, wow. Now there's a Switch 2 update for Xenoblade 1, 2, and 3, and a fourth one. So, at the very least, I have um, the remainder of the gotcha system in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I did beat the story, so it's just gotcha stuff. At least it looked pretty before I finish it, and the DLC and 3. Those games or those parts I never touched, so looking forward to that. And 4, my gosh, 4. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I like the direct. I hope you did too. Um, yeah. Hope you all have an awesome day.